Good morning. Our quorum is present in the meeting room. I call to order the meeting. We're using the request to speak system today, so please do not change your seats once you are seated. Item 1, information paper issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat has issued one set of paper to members, which has been tabled before the meeting. Item 2, item discussion at the next meeting. The next meeting will be held on Friday, the 3rd of October, from 10:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be two agenda items. First, the policy address briefing by the Secretary, which is the usual practice every year. The Secretary of Education will brief us on the 2025 policy address. Next, planning in face of the declining school-age population. If there are no views, we move on to the next item. Item 3, the latest developments of building Hong Kong as an international post-secondary education hub. Please refer to paper CB Bracket 3, 1279, 2025-03. Dr. Choi Yuk Lin, Secretary of Education, and Professor James Tang, Secretary General of the UGC, as well as Mr. Esmond Lee, Deputy Secretary, have been seated. Now we have 3 items today, so to keep time, after the Secretary has spoken, I will ask you once again to indicate your wish to speak, and then I will draw a line. Please focus on the relevant policy matters. Secretary, ready when you are. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, education is the key to building a strong nation and achieving national transformation. The report of the 20th National Congress sets forth the goal of building China into a leading country in education by 2035. For 2 consecutive policy addresses, the Chief Executive has mentioned that we have to build Hong Kong into an international education hub and a cradle for talents. The Committee on Education, Technology and Talents, led by the Chief Secretary, has been established. We will develop Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents. It requires the collaboration between the governments, the UGC, and also post-secondary institutions, as well as society as a whole, to make this happen. In April last year, I have attended the panel's meeting together with the UGC's representatives. We have briefed members on our plan and measures. Subsequently, a task force has been established to take forward a series of work in the span of 1 year. Short, medium, and long-term measures have been proposed. The Education Bureau has studied the report of the task force carefully. We will further formulate more measures. Now, today, I'm attending this meeting together with Mr. Esmond Lee, as well as the Secretary General, to brief members on our progress. Now, we are pleased to say that with the government's efforts to build Hong Kong into an international education hub and other supporting measures, we have a larger impact in the international community. Our universities have ranked top in various international rankings. Now, I will focus on our work on building Hong Kong into an international education hub and the way forward. Now, previously, the government has relaxed the admission quota for non-local students in publicly funded post-secondary institutions to support institutions to expand their capacity. Now, in the 2024 and 5 academic year, the 8 UGC-funded universities have recorded a 100% increase of non-local students from more than 100 countries and places. This has provided a more internationalized learning experience for local students in campus as well. More resources have been dedicated to fostering comprehensive support to non-local students. Then, faced with the sudden changes in policy regarding higher education overseas, we have seized opportunities to attract more outstanding talents to study and conduct research in Hong Kong. Now, in this era where knowledge is key, we need to have more talents who understand the skills for the future, as well as have a broad horizon. So in the next triennium, we will conduct more strategic planning to ensure that students are equipped with the skills of the future. We will also foster the development of the Alliance of Universities of Applied Science. Now, in June this year, CAP 320, the Post-Secondary Colleges Ordinance, has been amended. The regulatory and quality assurance mechanisms for self-financing post-secondary institutions has been improved, which will support the capacity expansion and quality enhancement of the self-financing sector. It will help building Hong Kong into an international post-secondary education hub. We also put importance on collaborative development of higher education in Hong Kong, the mainland, overseas. We want to create better conditions for collaborated research and studies. Now, the UGC has launched more than 7,000 research projects with institutions from 70 countries or regions. The UGC, the Education Bureau, and higher education institutions have jointly attended various symposiums to promote our strengths. Now, in the paper, we have set out the relevant policy measures which we will deepen in the next triennium, including closely monitoring the need to further relax the admission quota for non-local students, forging an internationalized campus together with the UGC, taking forward the development of the Northern Metropolis University Town to provide more space for strengthening our position as an international education hub. In terms of collaborated developments with overseas institutions, we will give play to Hong Kong's advantage as being backed by the country to strengthen collaboration with other regions and support the APAIE 2026 conference and exhibition hosted by the various universities in Hong Kong. We will also promote VPAS developments and deepen our efforts to provide a more diverse articulation pathways for the youth. Now, for the next 10 years, the country will see rapid development of education. It is also a golden era of Hong Kong's education. We will continue to develop Hong Kong into an international post-secondary education hub to align our developments with the country's goals, and also nurture talents to suit our latest needs and strengthen our growth impetus. We will listen carefully to members' views and respond to your questions. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. We have 35 minutes for this item. I will give each member 4 minutes, questions and answers included. Please keep to the time. If your question is too long, I will invite the Secretary to answer very succinctly. Now, the members are Dr. Tzit-yuen, Benson Look, Mrs. Regina Ip, Dr. David Lam, Professor Priscilla Leung, Lillian Kwok, Mr. Tang Fei, Lam Chen Sing, Dennis Leung, Ms. Dari Lee, and myself. Dr. Dick. Thank you, Chairman. Now, when it comes to post-secondary education, we have been going towards the direction of internationalization. We have favorable advantages, for example, our links with overseas places as well as our international standing. We are attractive. Now, it seems that we have more students, but most of the students come from Asian countries. We are an internationalized education hub, but not just the education hub for Asia. So how can we truly attract a more comprehensive range of students from more countries to Hong Kong? Now, besides students, teachers and scientific research talents are very important. In the past, we have welcomed a lot of outstanding talents from all over the world. So in terms of attracting such talents. How are we doing? Now, the Sino-US relations is tense. So how will that affect Hong Kong's exchanges with the Western countries, the Western world? Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Now, in terms of promoting development into an international education hub, our focus is on giving play to our internationalized characteristics. The ultimate goal is to foster a richer learning experience for local and non-local students alike, on how we can make our campuses more diversified. Now, traditionally, European countries and USA are the source countries of students. There are many exchange programs with them. So we will cause the heads of universities Standing Committee on Internationalization to take forward the work on fostering exchanges. We will also recruit students from Belt and Road countries and promote our brand. Now, over the past 2 years, with our joint efforts, there has been a significant increase in the number of students from these countries. That has diversified the makeup of our student population. It is true that the ratio of students from certain places like the mainland has been higher. We are aware of the situation. On the other hand, we see a lot of exchange students, mostly from Western countries. We have some 2,600 exchange agreements with countries in the West. So that helps to internationalize the makeup of our students. In terms of attracting diversified talents, with capacity expansion and quality enhancement, we have seen a huge increase in the number of researchers from overseas. Many of them are world-renowned experts. But of course, sensitivity, we have to be sensitive about the topic, so we haven't bang the drum on these experts. But the exchanges have been normal. Do any more members need to press the button? If not, I will draw the line here because 12 members have pressed the button. Next, Mr. Benson Look.
Thank you, Chairman. In recent days, in response to the national strategy in building itself into a leading country in education, the Education Bureau has proposed a series of measures which has solved a number of issues. I have a few questions. We note that in 2024-25 academic year, the government has raised the number of quotas for non-local students from 20% to 40%, and the number of non-local students has increased by 50% as a result. All these students come from 100 countries and regions. I wonder what is the ratio between the mainland students and overseas students studying in Hong Kong, because we know that mainland students make up a large percentage of local students in Hong Kong. But for us to become an international education hub, we need students from other countries as well. While we try to attract students from countries where their education policies changes all the time, do we have other strategies to lure students from other places to come? Because we want these students to stay in Hong Kong after they graduate and contribute to our economy. I wonder if the government has any of such data as to how many students stay behind after they graduate. In July 2025, the administration responded to many requests of the tertiary institutions. They have rolled out the student hostel projects, and many institutions have been procuring commercial buildings and turned them into student hostels. This project and initiative has been very popular. So under this hostels in the city scheme, how many extra student hostels do we have? And in the coming 3 to 5 years, how much more supply of hostels are we going to have? Secretary, thank you. Regarding the first question, on the ratio between mainland and overseas students studying in Hong Kong, well, mainland students make up 70% of non-local students here. As I said, the heads of universities committee standing committee on internationalization has been attending various activities outside Hong Kong to promote our brand. Mainland students and Indian students are the largest group of students that study overseas. So I think that's a phenomenon that is also common in other places. Because mainland and India are the largest student exporting countries. The cost of living for local students to stay behind after they graduate is high, and we have to be mindful of how well they adapt to their lives here. That's why we have extended our program for 2 years so that they have more time to get used to the life here. We also allow non-local students to now take up internships here. We've just launched the hostels in the city scheme. We note that there is well response from the trade. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Abe. Thank you, Chairman. The paper says that we want to nurture students with patriotism and international perspective. According to paragraph 24, the administration has subsidized a series of international academic events. Heads of universities visit other countries all the time. Professor Yip is the chairman of an international scholars committee. Professor Chow also visit other countries all the time. What about students? I know that we have exchange programs in universities. So how do universities encourage their students to go on these exchange programs? And I wonder how universities encourage or help their students visit Western countries and the American countries, because we need to know about their values. We need to know more about their development. This is how we expand the international horizons of our students. Second, on the Northern Metropolis University town, we have 90 hectares of land. Ngao Tam Mei, 45 hectares, will be reserved for a new campus. But 45 hectares of land is not that large. What is the plan for it? With the high cost of development, we need to make sure that the courses and research projects that we offer must be and has to be cutting edge. Otherwise, it's not worth it. We need to develop new quality productive forces if we are to develop this expensive piece of land. Secretary, thank you. Let me address the first question, and then I will ask the Deputy Secretary to supplement. On students' international perspective, we have many different programs. We have 2,600 exchange agreements signed by other countries. UGC also encourage tertiary institutions to promote sharing of international and mainland exchange experience among students. We also have a scholarship on excellence where students are able to study in top-notch universities and other countries. Now, regarding the development of the Northern Metropolis, because it's not just about our bureau, the Education Bureau, we also have to work with, say, ITIB on INT and Development Bureau on site formation. So the Chief Secretary for Administration will, through the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents, formulate details of the plan because land resources are scarce. In Hongshiki, we only have 5 hectares of land. The NMT University Town will be operated on a self-financing basis, so tertiary institutions have to secure their own resources to develop there. We have been trying to work with overseas universities there, and we want a better collaboration among technology, education, and innovation. When we have more details, we will announce it as soon as possible. Thank you. Dr. David Lam. Thank you, Chairman. Well, first of all, I support building a study in Hong Kong brand and turning ourselves into an international education hub. I have 2 questions. I remembered that the Secretary said that they will make sure that local secondary school students will be accorded priority for entering local universities. I see that the admission quota for non-local students in publicly funded post-secondary institutions will be doubled from 20% to 40%. So how many places do we have for local students? Will they be the same despite the increase in the number of quotas for non-local students? It is also said that from 2025-26 academic year, the admission quota for non-local students has been doubled from 20% to 40%. So are we talking about UGC-funded student quotas, or are we talking about self-financing school places? Secretary, thank you. The member asked how we secure school places for local students. Well, despite our a declining fertility rate, and well, we will make sure that the 15,000 school places for local students will remain unchanged. We will make sure that we keep the number. Well, these 40% for non-local students are outside the 15,000 quotas for local students. We allow post-secondary institutions to recruit more students. Given the rise in the admission quota, we have regards to the capacity, the teaching staff of the universities before we grant the extra quota. For institutions that recruit non-local students, their non-local students will have to pay non-local fees and tuition. I see many social media of the mainland has been trying to mislead mainland students and saying that they can pay local tuition, but that's not the truth. Professor Priscilla Lang. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the administration for dedicating much efforts in developing our study in Hong Kong brand and attracting international students and scholars. I have a question. We see international students coming to Hong Kong. I like to share my experience. I taught in the City University of Hong Kong. We have students from the Belt and Road countries, as well as Europe, Northern America, such as USA and Canada. However, the number of students coming from the US and Canada have been dropping. But according to my observation, if these students have a good experience when they study here, then they will tell good stories of Hong Kong when they go back to their countries. I have a Spanish student who came to Hong Kong, told me that she thought that Hong Kong was still in chaos, and she didn't know that we are a bilingual city. So this shows that their media has been very biased against Hong Kong. July this year, I led a student to a summit in Beijing. There is an American student who delivered a very touching speech. After that student went to China, they said that they had the wrong impression of that country before they went to our country. I only have one question. I took part in 3 exchange programs when I was a student. I was able to live with a local family. I had the opportunity to live with some well-off families, some families without means, some middle-class families as well. I think that we should allow international students to stay with host family during weekend. If they have a good experience, then they will become our ambassador when they go back to their country. Thank you, Professor Lin, for her experience sharing and her question on the point about host family. Well, because the living space of Hong Kong families is small, there are not that many families who meet the basic requirements. For families with means, we will encourage them to participate in the host family program. And in the future, we will try to also encourage other local families to, say, take part in activities with international students, not necessarily asking the students to stay with them. This is how we encourage and encourage these students to integrate into our society. Chairman, one more word. The students don't necessarily have to stay with families. Maybe you can have the families go outside and have fun with the international students during weekend. Ms. Lilian Kwok, thank you. I recognize the work of the administration. Initially, we only have 10% for non-local students. Now we have 40% of such admission quota. And we already have 3 tertiary institutions in excess. So in total, we have 22 degree awarding institutions. The Education Bureau has been encouraging students to stay behind after they graduate. And in terms of VPET, we have a fee pass scheme allowing students being awarded a higher diploma to stay in Hong Kong for a year. But I think that the government should improve these schemes. For non-local students with higher diploma, under VPass, they are able to stay in Hong Kong and look for jobs for 1 year. But for associate degree graduates who are non-local students, they are not able to stay behind because some of them may not be able to progress to the 8 UGC-funded universities. For higher diploma graduates of non-VTC institutions, they may not be able to stay. Should we not improve the schemes for level 4 QF students? I think that we should allow them to be promoted to, say, private schools. I think that we need to make things more diversified. Thank you.
其實係有6間自資。
There are actually 6 privately funded institutions which are qualified to recruit non-local students, including students from the mainland. Yes, but there are lots of sub-degree students in the privately funded universities as well, so I hope there would be more pathways for them. Concerning recruitment of non-local students by privately funded universities, besides Macau, Taiwan, and mainland, there is no restrictions. So that will help internationalize our campuses. Concerning VPass, that is the program for STEAM students remaining in Hong Kong to work. We are now reviewing the progress of the scheme together with the Labour and Welfare Bureau. Suitable adjustments will be made to the scheme in future. And concerning application for a place in universities by level 4 students, again, we will consider that when we are reviewing the VPass scheme. I thank the Secretary for her positive response. Dual articulation pathway is something that we are promoting, so we hope that more technical students will be allowed to remain. Mr. Tang Fei. Thank you, Chairman. Concerning recruiting non-local students. Now we are now mostly talking about post-secondary institutions, but can we at least expand the scheme to senior secondary school? Actually, there are no restrictions, but schools need policy facilitations to attract non-local secondary students. Now we need to look further than our neighbors. A survey has been conducted. Besides mainland, we have a lot of students from South Korea. The reason is simple. The cost of pursuing education in Hong Kong is much cheaper than that in the Western world. So can we at least expand our capacity to recruit non-local students in senior secondary curriculum? Second, and when it comes to building Hong Kong into an international post-secondary education hub, we are only talking about attracting students, but not researchers or academics. So has the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents formulated a plan on attracting scholars. Now, funding has been approved by the Finance Committee to attract global STEM talents to Hong Kong. They may build a startup in Hong Kong, or they may conduct research in Hong Kong. Now, in the UK, there is a program to absorb researchers from the US affected by the new policies. And there is an amount of funding provided to these scholars. So is our policy good enough to attract famous scholars to Hong Kong? Now, this topic is about International Education Hub. Secretary. On the first question of attracting non-local secondary school students. Now, if students would like to polish their English language in Hong Kong, there are a lot of choices, including international schools. For schools under the direct subsidy scheme, our focus is to support the education needs of local students and families. But still, we will consider your suggestion. Now, for privately funded schools, the supporting facilities would be developed by the schools themselves, for example, hostels. But we will provide policy facilitation. On the second question, whether we are attracting high-end academic talents and experts, actually we have. The Committee on Education, Technology and Technology, led by the CS4A, attaches importance to attracting global research talents. Now, we are working very hard on that. But this is a very sensitive topic. We don't want to affect the work in that regard. So I can only tell you that the government and schools are very proactive in attracting foreign research talents. Ms. Lam Shen Sing, thank you. When it comes to International Education Hub, we are mostly famous for our world-renowned universities, but they are not. But the international community is not very familiar with our VPAT education institution. Now, the government is putting more focus on developing universities of applied science. $100 million has been allocated to the Alliance of UAS for developing UAS. So can we establish a brand of VPAT education? Now, some people go to an European country to study a blue belt, a blue ribbon culinary course. So can we do something similar? Can we establish Hong Kong as a regional VPAT education hub? Now, second, the admission quota of non-local students has been relaxed by 40%. And many students are allowed to remain in Hong Kong to work after completing their studies. So as the government tracked the data, can you give us an estimation of the number of non-local students who will remain in Hong Kong to work? Will they work in industries where there is a genuine manpower shortage? Or will they be competing with our local workers and even negatively impact the employment of local workers? Thank you. Secretary. On the first question, how we are going to further promote our VPAT education and make it a brand. Over the year past, the development of our UAS has greatly enhanced the image and status of VPAT in Hong Kong. In the future, through the alliance of UAS, we are going to promote our professional image to the mainland and overseas markets. That will also enhance the recognition for VPAT in society. On the global stage, the VTC has led teams to participate in the World Skill Competition every year. The outstanding results achieved have left great impressions in the international society. Now we have relaxed the admission quota for non-local students by 40%. Now the quota has just been relaxed. The students are still in school. So after the first cohort of students have graduated, we will conduct a study and report back to members. Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. First question, we are promoting Hong Kong as an international education hub. So I hope the government will not neglect the role played by the VTC. It seems that the VTC is trying to establish itself as a university. As a result, they do not nurture sufficient talents to support the daily operation of our city. So can the VTC nurture more talents which can help the city's operation as well as nurturing talents to support the development of neighboring cities? Second question, VPAT development. Now there are 2 universities of applied science. Would there be more UAS in the future? Will the government offer more training to teachers and in secondary schools so that they can promote VPAT courses to students? Now, I've heard from students of the Chinese culinary school, they had to look up information to get admission to the school without any help of the teachers. Now, has the government conducted a study on why the country has developed so rapidly in technology? Well, I am not against having more international scholars and experts in our research talent pool, but shouldn't we engage with talents from the mainland so that we can really become the 8 centers? Secretary, now we have a clear positioning for our VPAT education. The VTC's mission is to nurture talents with professional technological skills. Now we are now enhancing communication with the country on recognition of a higher diploma, degree or sub-degree qualification. We hope that we can give a larger stage for VPAT graduates to shine. Now in the future, we will continue to develop universities of applied sciences. We understand that there are some institutions which are very close to becoming UAS. Now, I thank the member for his view on stepping up promotion in secondary schools so that parents and students will understand more about VPAT. Professor Tang on VTC. Now, post-secondary education institutions in Hong Kong and the mainland have been developing rapidly. Now, there are more than 7,000 joint research projects between Hong Kong institutions and overseas institutions. More than half of them, some 3,000 research projects, are jointly conducted with mainland institutions. Now, the HKCA-AVQ has been collaborating with important national bodies. That includes the National Natural Science Foundation of China and the Chinese Academy of Sciences. In terms of the number of research projects and the number of scholars and professors involved, the number has been on the rise. So we surely hope to further expand the collaboration with those institutions.
Professor William Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I have 3 questions. First, now to dovetail knowledge transfer and cultivation of talents among cities in the Greater Bay Area, I wonder if the administration are working on postgraduate schools in the Northern Metropolis University town. Second, on strengthening collaboration in the Greater Bay Area, on the development of one school, 2 campuses is like developing one country, 2 system. How can we achieve this? Has the administration addressed the issues that may arise from having, say, 2 campuses in 2 different cities under one institution? Third, on the hostels in the city scheme. As I said, hostels are not just apartments. We have general studies that are taught through hostels. Students learn how to get along with each other through these subjects. So I wonder if the administration will dedicate more resources for the institutions to achieve this goal. I'd like to raise this issue that also exists in secondary schools. When some mainland parents want their senior secondary school students to study in Hong Kong universities, they just put their children in hostels with no one to take care of them. I think that's very dangerous. Secretary, on the development of the Northern Metropolis University town, as I mentioned, we have a very clear plan. We ask the institutions to promote collaboration among research, industry, and academic. As to whether we will develop postgraduate schools, now we're going to work on it. We want to have an organic combination of institutions in the university town. We think that the institutions should be the ones to take the lead in order for us to achieve a synergy effect. Second, on how we can enhance collaboration with other institutions in the Greater Bay Area. Among the 8 UGC-funded universities, some of them have campuses in other cities in the mainland. We need to make sure that the campuses in the Greater Bay Area will be able to contribute to Hong Kong so that we can expand our capacity. The scale of local institutions has been expanded after they have established campuses on the mainland. But how can we take advantage of that? Well, under one country, 2 systems, we have many policies and measures to encourage students to study in Hong Kong as they complete their programs on the mainland. We're working with the Ministry of Education on the mainland to see how we can take advantage of such an arrangement. Third, on the hostels in the city scheme. We have a shortage of hostels. For student hostels outside school campuses, tertiary institutions will have regards to the year of study of the students before they allocate them to ones that are outside and inside their campuses. Well, there are school hostels that are leased to students randomly. I think that we should step up monitoring. For student hostels for senior secondary school students, they may not be hostels under tertiary institutions. We have been reminding institutions that they should take care of their students. Dr. Starry Lee, thank you. I recognize the efforts of the Education Bureau in promoting Hong Kong as an international education hub. We see many new measures and policies, and we see effect. I have a few suggestions. We have to dovetail with the development of our country as a leading country in education. That's why we need quality education. So we must remind ourselves that we are to offer quality education to nurture the right talents for our country. We're going to have economic benefits for developing ourselves into international education hub, but we must not forget our intent. We have some excellent non-UGC funded universities in Hong Kong. They have been contributing to our city. I have to declare interest. I teach non-local students in the Education University of Hong Kong. I see that many non-UGC funded universities have recruited non-local students, and they have contributed to our development into an international education hub. I hope that the Secretary will take into account not just UGC funded universities, but also other stakeholders, such as self-financing institutions and non-UGC funded universities. I hope that you will listen to them as well. They should be given opportunities to speak on the development of the Northern Metropolis University town. Third, I think that we have to focus on nurturing our young people. With our excellent education system, many international students want to come. I think that more importantly, we need to accord priority to our local, not young people. I think that we need to let our parents and young people know that our government has not forgotten them. While local students, local young people should be our priority. For other cities that are international education hub, as they relax their student visa policies, they have regards to their prevailing social situations. So I think that we should do the same. As we develop ourselves in international education hub, we need to make certain adjustments having regards to our own situation. I hope that there will be new measures in the new and upcoming policy address. I see that many institutions don't have enough space in their campus. So I hope that the Secretary will work with them so that they can expand their capacity. Please be succinct. I don't need an answer from the Secretary. I'm looking forward to new measures under the new policy address. Thank you. Secretary, well, I'd like to briefly address the comments. We want to promote diversity and internationalization. Our local students, in the process of us developing ourselves into an international education hub, benefit. We want to enrich their international experience as we develop their national identity and sense of belonging. We want to also broaden their international horizons. Thank you, Secretary. Here's my question. In 2023, we published a 99-page study on developing Hong Kong into an international education hub. I'm glad to see the prosperous development of our education sector. We have high number of incoming students, we have high reserve and high quotas. As we develop the Northern Metropolis University Town, we're going to promote our branding. While the University Town will be of 90 hectares, we will expand it further. Because as many members said, we need to have regards to not just GC-funded universities, but also other tertiary institutions. Second, on talents. In March, the U.S. dismissed their federal Ministry of Education, and as a result, many other countries have been attracting INT refugees that are rejected from the U.S. So can we also work on it? Lastly, on the hostels in the city scheme. Well, the Secretary said that it's just been launched. For developers, for UGC-funded universities, for private institutions, what response you expect there to be? Have you received any applications? Thank you. Secretary. On the development of the Northern Metropolis University Town, well, under the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents led by the Chief Secretary for Administration, we have a consensus that we want to expedite the development of the university town. On self-financing institutions' participation in the university town, well, we have invited them along with all UGC-funded universities to a briefing session. They have submitted their expression of interest. So this is in response to the Chairman's and Mr. Lee's questions. As we develop ourselves into an international education hub, self-financing institutions have a big role to play. On attracting ING refugees, as quoted by the Chairman, well, the 8 UGC-funded universities have been very proactive in attracting these refugees, so-called refugees. We have achieved some great results. However, as we said, we've been trying to work on it, but we don't want to advertise our efforts. We see high-quality talents coming. Third, on the hostels in the city scheme, as I said, we just announced it in July. Many institutions have been working on the proposals and applications. I know that the the scheme is positively received by the sector. We hope that the supply of hostels will be increased progressively. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. I did draw the line before, but then Mr. Chi Kuo-kwang pressed the button. I would give him 1 minute to raise his questions, but I would keep the time strictly. Thank you, Chairman. Now, in considering admission of post-secondary institutions into the Northern Metropolis, will the government use the approach that is used in the Sentinel to set aside large parcel of land for universities' application. We will consider that because we are pursuing integrated development of education, technology, and talent. So the committee led by the Chief Secretary will consider all possible options. Thank you, Secretary and the PGC. Moving on to the next item, the development of international schools and other private schools offering formal curriculum. Please refer to CB Brackets 3, 1279, 2025, 04. Let's invite the officials to come in. Those of you who would like to speak, please press the button. Officials in attendance include Dr. Jeff C., Under Secretary for Education, Mr. Ashley Leung, Principal Assistant Secretary, School Administration, and Mr. Andrew Ngan, Principal Assistant Secretary for Infrastructure, International School, and Statistics. Dr. Jeff C. Good morning. We'll brief members on the paper today. Now, unlike publicly funded schools, private schools operate on a self-financing model and provide formal, local or non-local formal curricula. They enjoy more flexibility in areas like medium of instruction, curriculum arrangements, and public examination options. They provide diversified choices for parents, especially for the local families. We support the development of a vibrant international school sector to meet the demand of international school places from non-local families living in Hong Kong and families coming to Hong Kong for work or investment. The policy objective is to retain and attract talent, as well as enhancing Hong Kong's development as a center on various fronts like international finance, international innovation and technology, and also enhancing Hong Kong's role as an international cosmopolitan. At present, there are 53 international schools, including one special school in Hong Kong. They offer a wide range of non-local curricula, including those of Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Korea, Singapore, the UK, and the US, as well as the IB program. In the 2024 and 5 school year, international schools, excluding the special school, provided about 47,500 school places and admitted around 43,600 students, accounting for around 92% of the total places provided. Non-local students come from some 30 different nationalities, accounting for almost 70% of the total enrollment number. It shows that our international school sector is diversified and attractive. Now, for other private schools, they offer school places to local families mainly. Families can choose from a wide range of private schools. The robust development of private schools in Hong Kong shows that there is a demand for internationalized learning experience. Both international school sector and the other private schools are an important part of our education system. It will make our campuses more diversified and meet various needs. Now, through a wide range of measures, private schools encourage competition and enriched our education system. Now, we attach importance to monitoring of private schools. Now, despite operating on a self-financing model, private schools are subjected to the regulation of CAP 279 Education Ordinance, Education Regulation 279A, and other related ordinances. The Education Bureau conducts inspection regularly. If any irregularities are detected, the Permanent Secretary for Education may exercise the power to direct remedial measures. If the situation is still unsatisfactory, the Permanent Secretary may suspend the operation of the school or cancel the registration or provisional registration of the school. We attach importance to monitoring of school personnel. Now, the monitoring of staff and managers is the same as publicly funded schools. Now, concerning the regulation of collection of fees and investments by private schools, in August 2023, the Education Bureau has launched a set of more comprehensive application and approval mechanism. If there are irregularities, the approval will be rescinded. We also attach importance to the reputation of schools. Now, there are some scandals in relation to private schools recently. The Education Bureau will continue to follow up on these cases. Now, our inspection team has conducted unannounced inspections. 10 private schools have been inspected. We have inspected the enrollment data, the number of students, as well as the attendance rate, and also the school premises safety, as well as teachers' registration to ensure that they are complying with the law. Now, to protect parents and students' rights, we will step up on monitoring the private schools, including establishing the guidelines on teachers' professional conduct and other guidelines. Chairman, concerning the developments of international schools and other private schools which provide formal curricula, we will listen to members' views and take on board your views. Thank you. Now, during the past year, we have raised much concern concerning the regulation of private schools, but this is the first time we have an official agenda item, so I look forward to that. The members who are going to speak are Kenneth Leung, Lam Chun Sing, Dr. Tzit-yuen, Edward Leung, Professor William Leung, Tang Fei, Ms. Lillian Kwok, Starry Lee, Mr. Chu Kwok Kang, Mrs. Regina Ip, Professor Priscilla Leung, and myself. Does anyone else want to speak? Now we are overrunning, so if there are no other members who would like to speak, I will draw the line here. 3 minutes each. First, Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Now, in the entire educational system, international schools and other private schools play an important role, especially at a time when we are widely attracting foreign talents to come to Hong Kong. So I'm pleased to hear that there has been a lot of inspections since the beginning of this year. Now, the government has said that it was going to establish or compile a register for qualifying private schools. So when will that come along? Paragraphs 17 to 19 in the paper about collection of fees and investments. Some criteria were mentioned. Now, in the previous scandal, there was a lot of problems involving the fee collection system. So will the government make the criteria for approving the fee collection scheme more transparent to society? Now, finally, about the Northern Metropolis, there will be a lot of international schools and private schools in the area. So will the government consider including boarding schools in the Northern Metropolis, because the boarding section of schools are very important? Undersecretary, thank you, Mr. Leung. Concerning the upcoming register of private schools. First of all, we are now compiling a set of practical guidelines concerning the operation, management, standard, fundraising, and student enrollment by private schools. In the future, if private schools are approved and when the inspection finds no irregularities, the schools will be put on the register. At this stage, we are still compiling the practical guidelines. Within this school year, we will make some major progress. In terms of fee collection, it is true that some private schools do have financial needs to develop their school premises, facilities, and infrastructure. There are different avenues for raising funds, one of which being charging the parents. but they have to meet 4 key principles, including compliance, school governance, transparency, and most importantly, safeguard of key stakeholders' interests. Having fulfilled the 4 key principles, the schools can apply for the EDB's approval of the fee collection scheme. So far, we have received 50 applications. If approval is given, the schools may charge the fees accordingly. Concerning the Northern Metropolis, sites have been reserved for the development of international schools. Whether there will be a boarding session, well, we will consider the idea. But as I said, the main purpose of international school is to attract non-local talents to come to Hong Kong to work. So the students would usually be coming together with their family. So normally, at the stage of primary and secondary education, they would not need to use boarding facilities. There are some existing boarding facilities of international schools, but the occupancy rate is low. Please keep to the time from now on. Next, Ms. Lam Chen-Sing. Thank you, Chairman. The collection of fees of international schools and private schools comes in a wide diversity. There are options and debentures, and there were some cases where some parents could not get their investments back. So the Undersecretary said there is a rigorous approval mechanism. Even so, the schools can refuse to pay back the parents for various reasons. So how can we protect the parents? For example, can we set a cap on each installment of payment to reduce the potential loss? Now, there are some tutoring schools which operate like schools, but the collection of fees are subject to restriction. For example, payments by months only, or payments only when school year starts. So can we replicate that model on international schools? Now, the Undersecretary said that some sites will be reserved in the Northern Metropolis for the development of international schools. That is good because there is a lot of demand from non-local talents. But how can we make sure that will not affect the development of publicly funded schools? There are lots of schools which need to be redeveloped. So will that compete for resources for local students? Undersecretary, thank you. First question on tuition fee or school fees. Now, when we consider allowing collection of fees other than education fee, besides the 4 key principles I mentioned, the school needs to consult an independent advisor to ensure that all the regulations and rules are complied with. Another important point is to respond to stakeholders' concerns so that parents can make an informed choice. And the school must at least once per year report to parents the usage of the fund raised and also the plan for future usage. If there are any irregularities, or if it is proven that certain rules or regulations have been breached, the Education Bureau can rescind the approval given. Concerning the site reserved in the Northern Metropolis for international schools, besides that, we have also reserved sites in the area for building publicly funded schools. For example, in Kudong North and Fanling North, school sponsoring bodies of some schools have been given the green light to develop campuses. So we will be sure that we explain that to the public.
一直嚟講。
Dr. Tzit-yuen, thank you, Chairman. I have always said that we need to promote diversity in our education landscape. We need more than publicly funded schools. But it seems that the administration does not have an overall plan. We need to have, say, for example, a 5-year plan, 10-year plan for the development of private schools and international schools. But I don't see such a plan in the papers. This is not how we promote diversified learning. That's my first point. Second, without a plan in place, some schools try to transition into international or private schools because we have low birth rate locally. There's a lack of transparency in such a process of transition, and that affects the students that are studying in those schools. I wonder if the administration has a transparent mechanism in place for local schools to transition. I think that there is a lack of monitoring on the collection of school fees and other charges by private and international schools. How do we make sure that the charges and tuition charged are reasonable while we protect the interest of our students? Undersecretary, thank you. We want to promote the diversity of our international or private school system. This is reflected in the curricula offered by these schools. As I said, many different international schools offer different non-local curricula. We have 53 international schools offering non-local curricula, including those of Australia, Canada, so on and so forth. We have a wide range of choices for parents. We have specialized private schools offering, say, forest-based curricula. We have private schools offering courses that allow, say, farming experience for students. These schools focuses on the linkage between children and the nature. There are also private schools that focus on music, sports education, as well as arts appreciation. So this shows that we have diversified choices for our parents in the private school sector. The member asked about monitoring and transparency. As I said, we are formulating a guidelines for private school that sets out the channels for fundraising, the teaching staff, and if there will be shadow students, if there is this problem of shell schooling. We want to address all these issues by formulating these guidelines. It's not the case that we only address the issues when it arises. After compiling a list of private schools, we want to enhance transparency for parents so that they have more clear information as they select schools for their children. Thank you. Mr. Edward Leung, thank you. I have 2 questions. Private schools have been suspended by the Education Bureau, that is the Inno School, but it seems that it has just recently been reopened. So how will the administration follow up on this issue? Second, on debentures. Many private schools have run into problems, such as Think International Schools and Han Academy. They are not able to repay the parents for the debentures, and some of them have accumulated debt of $100 million. I think that we have to put a stop to this issue because the Otherwise, it will undermine the repetition. I think that the Education Bureau should take up a bigger role. When schools default on their debentures and debt, the administration often said that this is a commercial and business problem. But I hope that the Education Bureau will intervene. Because parents told us that the reason why they are able to purchase such as debentures is because of the commitment of the Education Bureau. But it seems that the Education Bureau only take up the role of approving the issuance of debenture but not monitoring it. But I think that the Education Bureau, as they approve the issuance of debenture, they have to look at the number of students enrolled and the financial position of the schools to make sure that they are able to repay the debentures. Undersecretary. Thank you. The members just quoted a few schools. I will not comment on individual cases. I am not in a position to disclose any details of the cases. We have been conducting surprise inspections against private schools to make sure that they comply with the education regulations, education ordinance, and the handbooks and code of practice that we issued. If there is any irregularities or any breach of the terms and conditions, we will take action. Say, for example, we may prosecute any schools that do not comply with our laws. Starting from the first day of this month, we have inspected 10 private schools. After each and every inspections, we take follow-up action. When we detect irregularities, we pass on these cases to law enforcement agencies. The member asked about collection of other charges that are not school fees. Well, I must stress that before application for the issuance of debentures, schools must address any issues they have with the stakeholders. Even if Education Bureau approve of the issuance of debentures or other charges, schools will still need to report to parents on how these fees are being used. If there is any irregularities, we welcome parents and stakeholders reporting them to us so that we can take early action. If there is any breaches of the terms and conditions of the approved charges, we may intervene and we may withdraw the approval already granted. Thank you. Undersecretary, 3 members talked about debentures. So I believe that the community at large wants the Education Bureau to take serious action against non-complying private schools. I think that this message is very clear. Professor William Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I have 2 questions. First, the Education Bureau has been trying to offer diversified options for parents, and I know that there are private primary and secondary schools collaborating with those on the mainland. I wonder what the progress is, and will the administration create more joint courses with the mainland? As Italians from the mainland bring along their children here, they need such a service. Second, as we expand our capacity, it seems that we are trying to make our education an industry. Many people are trying to just make a profit by running schools. That's why I think that we need a monitoring. We need to address any issues that we have. Undersecretary, thank you. First, on a collaboration with the mainland and its progress. Every year, we have many talents from the mainland coming to Hong Kong. They do have such a demand for mainland curricula at local schools. That's why in Tzit-yuen, we're going to establish a first nonprofit making schools offering mainland curriculum. We're working with the relevant school sponsoring body. They are working on the construction of the school. It is expected that in 2028-29 academic year, the school will be commissioned, offering 900 primary and secondary school places. Second, on the charging of fees, well, as I mentioned, private schools are not subsidized by the government. They need to resort to various channels such as borrowing to run their schools. There's been views saying that there should not be over intervention from government. Because that may undermine the quality of the schools and the education that they offer. Nevertheless, we have been monitoring these schools closely. As I mentioned, our approval and monitoring mechanism have been very stringent. When private school and international schools want to adjust their school fees or other charges, they need to submit information on their financial position to the Education Bureau. They need to communicate with the stakeholders and address any issues that they have. For private schools subsidized by the Education Bureau, they need to submit their accounts to our Bureau for scrutiny. We know that some black sheep run their schools solely from a business perspective. Through our surprise inspections, through the private schools list that we are going to formulate, we believe that we'll be able to detect such black sheep and uphold their reputation. Thank you. Mr. Tang Fei, thank you. I have 3 questions. Can the administration explain about the definition of private and international schools? Because some international schools are connected to consulates of respective countries. Some private schools are profit-making, some of them are non-profit-making. And some private schools are named XX international schools. So what are the definition of private and international schools, and what is the difference between these 2 types of schools? Because international school is a type of private school. Second, within 1 week, the administration has conducted many inspections against private schools. I wonder if we will regularize it. I think that we need inspections more frequently. That's my second question. Third, many members talked about debentures issued by private schools. In end April, the administration issued a circular on the application and approval mechanism on the collection of charges for private schools. So in these recent months, can the administration tell us about the implementation progress? Thank you.
Secretary, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Tang, for your 3 questions. Firstly, all international schools are private schools. But a private school is not necessarily an international school. The threshold for qualifying as an international school is higher. There are several pathways. If a school sponsoring body has been given a site by the Education Bureau to develop an international school, then that school will be qualified as an international school. On the other hand, if a private school has been operating for some time and has complied with our standard for an international school, for example, at least 70% of the student population is non-local, good past track record, and sustainable financial plan, then that school may apply to be recognized as a qualified international school. So the threshold for an international school is higher. Concerning unannounced inspections, we will conduct 2 more rounds of inspections in the coming months, and then there will be intermittent inspections. Now, as members rightly pointed out, private schools can charge various fee items, and some fee items are very expensive. Now, Mr. Tang asked whether the government would conduct inspection on all schools in Hong Kong. Now, based on the risk-based approach, we will focus our inspection on private schools. For other government-funded schools, we will make sure that the schools are up to standard through the existing mechanisms. And concerning the approval of fees charged by private schools, there are 4 key principles, including compliance, school governance, transparency, and safeguard of key stakeholders' interests. Now, since the mechanism was launched, we have received some 50 applications so far. Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. I will make good use of my time. So I thank the government for achieving so much in such a short time. Now, my question is about regulation. First, when applying to be recognized as a private school, will there be a financial reserve requirement? For example, a certain amount of financial reserve for 6 months or a year. Now, when we are changing the status of some schools from publicly funded schools to privately funded schools, there is a requirement of 3 years financial reserve. Now, when there are major shareholding changes in schools or personnel changes, I believe that these schools should have reported these changes to the Education Bureau. So does the Education Bureau get involved in the management's changes? Now, one of our greatest worries is the existence of the so-called shadow students. So I think the Education Bureau has access to students' attendance record. So, like publicly funded schools or DSS schools, these schools are required to report non-attendance of more than 7 days to the Education Bureau. Should private schools do the same? Now, I hope that there will be more private schools in Hong Kong. We need to attract more non-local students, and hostel facilities are key. So in terms of private schools and hostel facilities, will the government help them, just like helping local universities to get hostel places? Under Secretary, thank you. Your questions were about financial reserve, debentures and shareholding structures, and also overall monitoring concerning schools' financial positions. We don't just ask the schools about their financial position when they apply to be recognized. We also conduct regular checks on schools' financial status, especially when they apply for approval of fees. We will consider their financial positions before we approve these applications. If schools applied for collection of fees other than the school fees, they need to report to us the usage and the purposes of the fees charged. For changes of shareholding structure of schools or change in the school sponsoring body's board, then the schools are required to report to the Education Bureau. Section 30 of the Education Ordinance has this requirement in place. The board members of the school sponsoring bodies must be competent persons. The permanent secretary has the right to refuse admission of unsuitable personnel to the board. For example, when there are past breaches of professional conduct or ethics, the permanent secretary can deny the admission of such a person into the school sponsoring body to upkeep the governance standards. For shadow students, like other schools, if a student is absent for 7 days, the school needs to file a report to the EDB. During our inspection, we would inspect the attendance record of students together with their nationalities. Thank you. Please switch on Dr. Starry Lee's mic. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I support the development of more international schools and private schools in Hong Kong. Hong Kong must become a talent hub for international high-caliber talents. School places are important for that purpose. Now, I heard from many students and parents that it is difficult to get into a school that they yearn for. So we must ensure that non-local families and their children can enter schools they like while protecting the education opportunities for the locals. So to ensure healthy development of international school sector, we need to provide land. Now, these schools are subject to the Education Bureau's standard, so the Education Bureau plays an important role here. You have to ensure robust oversight, even for international schools and private schools. Despite the scandals recently, we still support the development of international schools and private schools. So how do you balance the policy objectives? For example, if there is an industry which lacks a certain type of talents, will we offer more support for this type of talents to provide education for their children? Now, I support the establishment of campuses in Hong Kong by world-renowned schools. But at the same time, there are a lot of quality educational institutions in the mainland. Now, we need to help the country to become a leading state in education. There are many talents from the mainland who would like to enroll in schools run by quality institutions in the mainland. Undersecretary, I thank the member for supporting the development of international schools and private schools to diversify our education system. It will also help attract more talents to come to Hong Kong. Now, in terms of attracting talents to Hong Kong, the Education Bureau has been working closely with the Talent Engage. Through the Talent Engage, we have stepped up promoting Hong Kong's private schools with different characteristics. So like the member mentioned, for international schools or private schools favored by parents, there is keen competition for a place. So according to the school's situation, the schools can flexibly adjust the number of students in each classes or apply to the Education Bureau to expand the campuses. With better utilization of these schools' premises, more school places can be provided. Now, with the 2 additional vacant school premises allocated to international schools last year, there will be an additional 1,000 school places this year. On how we can help mainland educational institutions go global, we welcome mainland educational institutions to set up branch campuses in Hong Kong. In fact, we have received some very competitive educators from the mainland to establish schools in Hong Kong, including in the northern metropolis. So the Committee on Education, Talent and Technology and the Education Bureau will put our heads together to help build the country into a leading state in education. So I heard the focus of the Education Bureau is encouragement only. So for talents which we really lack, we need to have a more organic support package. So I hope you can be more proactive. So please come up with a more practical system. Next, Mr. Chu Guoquan. Now my concern is about the financial scandals of some private schools. 2 private schools have been ordered to close by the Education Bureau. So I think the Education Bureau has been stepping up inspection of high-risk schools. So I think that's great. Now for one of these schools, according to the report, 3 years before the suspension, the school principal was not involved in the management of the school. And there were even rumors that the school was not running at all for 3 years. So that's the Chongqing Middle School. Why was the school not ordered to suspend operation earlier? Now, according to the law, if a school has not been operating for 1 school term, the school should have been ordered to close already. Is there negligence? Now, according to media reports, there is going to be a new private school in Tsim Sha Tsui. Now, it will be using the old school site for the Austin School. The name for registration is also the same. So it seems that the school sponsoring body is just changing the name and continue to operate the failed school. So it seems that this is unscrupulous practice. So why is the Education Bureau allowing these failed educators to continue to operate simply by changing the names?
多謝主席嘅。
Undersecretary, thank you. Chairman, I thank Mr. Chu for the questions. I thank him for his recognition of our efforts in terms of inspection. You talked about Chongqing Middle School. we have been keeping in view of their operation and enrollment situation. In 2023-24 academic year, there are still students in that particular middle school, as the schools have been servicing students, and that year we did not plan to suspend it. But in 2024-25 academic year, we see that the school has ceased operation. And we see that Chengcheng Middle School has been illegally collaborating with mainland institutions in offering DSE curricula. As a result, we suspended the operation of the Chengcheng Middle School, and in accordance with our mechanism, we issued a letter to the school requesting them to, in a specific period, submit representations to the Education Bureau. As the representations has not addressed any root issues in terms of the operation of the school, as a result, on this very day, we're going to issue a letter to the directors and the board of the schools that they should suspend operation formally. As for schools that are about to be commissioned, as we said, we are going to step up our surprise inspections and monitoring of these schools. We're going to formulate a list of private schools to make sure that their operation are in compliance with the laws and regulations. We adopt a risk-based approach. For schools that have been subject to complaints, they may be of high risk of non-compliance. We will attach particular importance and pay extra attention to them to make sure that their operation are legal. Chairman, I have a few extra questions. What about the examples that I just mentioned? Why don't we ask new schools to make another round of new registration? Well, if the schools change to a new address, they need to submit another round of application of registration with the Education Bureau. I think that the Education Bureau should pay attention to these cases. Next, Professor Priscilla Leung. Thank you. International and private schools are crucial to quality education in Hong Kong, as we want to attract quality talents from other countries. They care very much about the education of their offsprings. In Xinjiang, I saw the Xinjiang Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce chairman. He said that in 2013, he invested $10 million in Hong Kong. He liked our city very much. He said that he paid $3.5 million per child to a school in Jordan. So he paid $7 million in total. Shortly after that, that school went bankrupt. He didn't know how to collect the tuition back. This chairman was of high caliber. I think that we need to offer clear advisory services to these top talents. $300 million were involved in that school's bankruptcy. And that chairman, well, I was not able to help him, and that was a pity. I offered free advice to many of such talents. They want to send their children to international schools. Second, some of them want to go for schools that offer DSE curricula. They face two different challenges. First, language. Some local schools offer IB programs, and these are the top choices for mainland parents. They also prefer schools offering English and Mandarin as medium of instructions. But there aren't that many school places. The children of mainland talent speak Mandarin, and they want their children to be able to catch up as they go for the SE curricula. I hope that you will monitor the operation of private schools. I think that is great for us to have private schools. Thank you. Thank you. Undersecretary. Thank you, Professor Lam, for the questions. We are aware of the demand of education from mainland talents. The edges of private schools are that they are flexible, they respond very quickly to market changes. For schools under direct subsidy scheme, some of them offer both local and IB curricula. We see more and more international schools offering Mandarin courses. Many private schools, in response to increasing demand from mainland parents, they have been offering curricula taught in Putonghua. We will keep in touch with the sector to address the comments made by the parents as quoted by the member. Just now, Professor Leung cited a very serious question and issue, which is the default of debentures payment. We will follow up on that with schools. Now we need to work on transparency. We know that parents who just arrived in Hong Kong may not know very much about our systems, so we are going to formulate a list. Our meeting was scheduled to end at 11:45 a.m. We have another item, so we have to be very succinct. It's my turn. The administration has offered 10 loans to private schools totaling $2.27 billion. Out of the 10 loans, only 6 of them have been fully repaid. So what is the prepayment progress? Will the government continue to issue loans to private schools? Second, I care very much about the development of international and private schools. We have low fertility rate. In 2015, we have 60,000 newborns. In 2025, we have only 37,000 newborns. I think that we need to offer more student visas to reverse the trend. Undersecretary, thank you. On our loans to international schools, well, because these loans are granted in different years, as a result, the schools have been repaying their loan to Education Bureau according to the respective schedule. As to whether we will issue parent visas for students studying in Hong Kong, we will look into it. it would be the best if the family member of students can accompany them to come to Hong Kong to study. But as I said in my opening remarks, international schools and private schools are facilitation institutions to retain talent families who already have a plan to relocate to Hong Kong. We want to encourage them to bring their children along here. Our major focus is not to attract students to come, but to facilitate parents who are talented to bring along their children here. Thank you. I see that there are 3 loans that are of a tenure of over 10 years, so I think that the government should look into it. There are still 2 members who'd like to speak. 1 minute, please. Mr. Stanley Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I didn't know that the line's been drawn. One simple question. I'd like to talk about education fairness. Many members talked about monitoring. I'd like to talk about fairness. Many international schools like to claim that their students are elite students. They're better than other local students. That's why many parents prefer to send their children to international schools. This is a sort of labeling effect. It seems that parents are of the view that international school students are better than the rest of the children. So how do we address this issue? On education fairness, according to many international research and studies, Hong Kong education system is very fair. We rank among the top internationally. We have subvented schools in Hong Kong. The learning difference among different types of schools in Hong Kong is minimal compared to other countries and places. For DSS schools, private schools, international schools, they can charge parents tuition. This is to provide another option for parents and to promote diversity in education. For non-publicly funded schools, such as international, private, and DSS schools, we ask them to offer tuition remission schemes and scholarships for their students. This is to enhance the affordability of the needy students, thereby increasing their accessibility. Now, in terms of our education systems, well, students have abundant opportunities despite the types of schools that they go to. I think that when parents choose and select the schools for their children, they need to do so according to the interest and the character of the children.
提呢個問題好好，因為喺
Undersecretary, actually, Mr. Stanley Ng's question is well based. Now, actually, in private hospitals, they need to set aside some bed spaces and charge fees under the publicly funded hospitals model. So maybe we should do the same for private schools. If there is not such a mechanism, maybe it's time we study whether we should establish one. Last member, Mr. Dr. Hui Simon Lee. Thank you. Now, as an international financial center and an important node in the GBA, we need to provide more choices for non-local talents to enhance our attractiveness. Now, we need to ensure that these schools serve Hong Kong's developmental interests. So in granting new school premises, will the government consider criteria such as enhancing integration, local growth impetus, or national identity to ensure that our public resources are spent in the most effective ways? Will the government ensure these schools develop more programs in line with our developmental directions like the 8 centers? Please be brief. Yes, so that we can nurture more talents for the country. And finally, as mentioned by other members, schools need to be more transparent in their financial model. And before adjusting the fees, they need to communicate with the parents. Will the Undersecretary take on board Dr. Hui Simon Lee's points? Yes. Very briefly, for private schools offering formal curricula, they need to offer programs in relation to national security and national identity. There will also be national anthem playing and national emblem, a national flag hoisting ceremony. Now, in terms of programs aligning with the 8 centers' positions, there will be guidelines in place in the future practical guidances. Thank you. Let's move on to the last item, development of gifted education. Please refer to paper CP Brackets 3 1279 2025-05. Now we invite the government officials together with the representatives of the Hong Kong Academy for Gifted Education to come in. Now besides the government officials, we have Professor Alan Lam, Chairperson of the Board of Directors of the HKHEE, Dr. Jimmy Wong, Executive Director of the Academy. Undersecretary, please. Thank you, Chairman. Education is important for nurturing talents. We attach importance to developing the gifted in Hong Kong. We need to identify students with potential to strengthen our talent pool. Now we implement a 3-tier implementation model. We focus on talent identification to development of talents. We will identify and develop the talents of gifted students. All along, we have been providing professional support to schools and teachers to implement school-based whole-class teaching for talents and identify the gifted talents. Now, starting from 2023 to 4 school year, we provide more resources to equip teachers to identify gifted students in schools. Also, more after-school advanced learning programs have been offered. We also support the organization of competitions and trainings. Now, under the Gifted Education Fund, we have been providing more training materials to teachers. Now, last year, we have met with school principals and teachers concerning the implementation of gifted education. Now, in 2017, the Advisory Committee on Gifted Education has been established to advise the government on the strategies to develop gifted education. Now, the committee has been collaborating with schools to provide dedicated advanced learning programs to gifted students. Now, through the Hong Kong Academy for Gifted Education, we have been sponsoring students to participate in competitions locally and internationally. We have also offered more off-school advanced learning programs in relation to STEAM to students. Now, the HKAGE has also offered off-school programs to develop the potential of gifted students. Now, over the years, we have been developing Hong Kong into a regional hub for gifted education. For those aged between 10 and 18, the HKAGE has been providing dedicated training to gifted students and their parents. Now, the HKAGE has been widening its pathways for admission. There are at present 9,400 student members of the HKAGE. In 2024 and 2025 and 6 school years, the HKAGE will aim to provide at least 8,000 places for nurturing students with potential. In terms of positive learning and affectionate learning, the Education Bureau has been training teachers to provide affectionate and attitude training for gifted students. We also have assessment and support centers to support the parents of gifted students. The HKAGE also offer seminars and symposiums and other activities for gifted students and their parents. Now, besides arranging gifted students to participate in nationwide competition and exchanges, we have organized activities like the GBA Technology Study Tour for gifted students to understand the development of technology in the country. Now, between July and August this year, we have organized a visit to study visual arts at the Central Academy of Fine Arts and paleontology at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Now, we will listen to members' views carefully concerning the way forward. Thank you. Those of you who would like to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. Now, the first extension of meeting only has 8 minutes left, so can I extend the meeting by another 15 minutes? Thank you for your support. Now, we have a very robust audience today, so I will only give members 3 minutes each. The members are Dennis Leung, Vice Chairman, Benson Look, Lam Chen Sing, Dr. Hui Simon Lee, Professor Lau Chi Pang, Chu Guok Keung, and myself. First, Vice Chairperson Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. We have invested a lot in nurturing gifted students over the years. Despite improvements in our measures, the reality is the gifted students usually enroll in certain programs or faculties in universities like engineering, medical science, and so on. It deprived the other disciplines of talents. So is there a survey on the articulation pathway of these gifted students? Which disciplines did they choose? What professions did they enter? Is there a strategy to encourage gifted students to align themselves with our development directions, like the 8 centers? Can the government tell us more about the career choices of these students? Undersecretary, thank you. Mr. Leung. Now, under the HKAGE, the training programs they offered are very diversified. There is technology and sciences, financial skills, and also whole person development. Now, in terms of whole person development, the HKAGE focuses on developing the attitude and values of students. Now, besides the core values and literacy skills, the HKAGE also focuses on the life skills. Now, in terms of choices of career, according to regular surveys, graduates of HKAGE, some 60% of them would choose disciplines related to STEAM, So these are subjects related to innovation, technology, and engineering. So it shows that the career choices is diversified. So we will make sure that in the life and career skills programs, we will train students to choose subjects related to Hong Kong's development. Now, some members mentioned the importance of VPAT and that it is important for various industries and professions. So we will tell students about different career options. And also we have set a KPI for the UGC to guide students to choose disciplines which align with our development interest. Next, Mr. Benson Look. Thank you, Chairman. In the past decade, the Education Bureau has stepped up its efforts on developing gifted education. I myself have been a beneficiary of gifted education, now from the community gifted education centers to a dedicated body, which is the HKAGE. Nowadays, gifted students have been offered opportunities to participate in competitions and training events. It is very beneficial for gifted students. Now, there has been some scandals about the origin or the authenticity of the work of our students in competition. So concerning competition entries, in particular about INT competitions, does the HKAGE have a mechanism in place to ensure the originality of the competition entry? And how do international and local competitions ensure that every piece of competition entry is up to standard? Are there due diligence in place? Now, plagiarism is something that we were taught in universities. So will the government offer more training to secondary school students on the pitfall of plagiarism? Under Secretary, thank you. I will not comment on individual cases, but I thank Mr. Benson Look for telling us your hands-on experience about gifted education. Now, in a moment, I will defer to the Hong Kong AGE concerning the guidelines for competitions. Now, we attach much importance to education on core values. In particular, we put much importance on academic integrity in this day and age where there is generative AI. It is very important for students to finish their work themselves. So we have modules under the core values program to educate students on that. Concerning competition guidelines, I will defer to the HKAGE.
院長，
Chairperson or the Executive Director? Thank you. As the chairperson of the Hong Kong Academy for Gifted Education, I am not only tasked to monitor the academy, but we also serve as a panel of judges. When we assess the product and the projects of gifted students, we look into the process of reasoning and the originality of the competition piece. We are of the view that the process of the competition offered by the Hong Kong AGE is very comprehensive. We listen to different views from the community. Thank you. Mr. Lam Chen Sing. Thank you, Chairman. According to the previous audit report, I know that there are some issues with Hong Kong AGE. The rate of completion is rather low, and during the period of time, there's not much enrollment in the academy. There are some schools that rarely nominate students to the Hong Kong AGE. What is the problem? Is it that the teachers of some schools are too busy, that's why they don't bother to nominate students to the Hong Kong AGE? Or is it the problem of the Hong Kong AGE? Why is it that there are so few nominations in some years? How will the Hong Kong AGE and the Education Bureau follow up on it? For gifted students, they seem to study and pick a certain subjects when they go to universities. How do we therefore cultivate more talents in the innovation and technology sector? How can Hong Kong AGE play a role in this? How can we encourage gifted students to choose subjects that are in the INT fields, for example? Undersecretary, thank you. On the point about school nomination, I will ask the Hong Kong AGE to answer that. Regarding the recommendations in the audit report, well, the Hong Kong AGE in 2024 has followed up on all of them, and the measures have been implemented fully. Mr. Lam talked about how students select programs in universities. I think that this is not just an issue with the Hong Kong AGE. As we develop ourselves in the direction of the 8 centers, we need INT talents. In recent years, in fact, we've been seeing more and more students selecting INT-related courses and programs. And we noticed that more senior secondary school students have been selecting extension courses in mathematics and INT-related subjects. I will ask the Hong Kong AGE to respond to the other 2 questions. Thank you. Regarding the 2024 audit report published by the Audit Commission, they cover 5 different academic years from 2017 to 2023. That was the time of COVID. Because of the epidemic, the completion rate of certain courses was low. However, in the recent 2 years, we see that the completion rate is as high as 80% or above. The member said that some schools nominate very few students to Hong Kong AGE, but that was the figure from 2017 to 2023. In the recent 2 years, we see a rising number of nominations from schools. While we allow schools to make nominations, we also allow parents to nominate their children to Hong Kong AGE. You may wonder why some schools don't nominate students. It could be the case that they have too many gifted students. As a result, they would rather have their parents nominate their children instead. These are the figures that may not be reflected in the audit report. we notice more and more students who want to become scientists. Thank you. Dr. Hui Summon Lee. Thank you. Chairman, I have some suggestions. First, we have organized many competitions, such as the Chinese Mathematics Olympiad and the physics competition. Should we not participate in more types of competitions organized by the mainland authorities? Say, for example, the nationwide AI innovation competition. This is how we apply advanced frontier technology. I think that we should encourage more students to participate in these competitions, and this will widen the domains covered by the academy. I think that also we should create competitions on, say, fintech and biotechnology that highlight our own edges. This is how we integrate education into our development into the 8 centers. And this is how we can nurture enough talents for such development. So I think that we should design competitions that highlight our edges. Say, for example, we can have, say, Hong Kong Youth FinTech or Biotech competition. This is how we can create new domains and enhance awareness in the community. Thank you. Undersecretary, thank you for the suggestions. We can talk to the Hong Kong AGE on how we can encourage more students to participate in international competitions and organize more of such on our own. Maybe we can collaborate with local universities on this. Now we are 7 minutes away from the second extension. Although there are only 4 members left, should we extend the meeting by another 15 minutes? If there's no objection, the meeting will be extended to 12:30 p.m. Professor Lau Chi-pang. Thank you. This item is very interesting. Let me talk about some history. The Hong Kong AGE was established in 2008. Before its establishment, there were many gifted students at schools that did not attend the academy. I have many of my peers who were gifted. They didn't have the opportunity to be trained and educated in this type of academy. Were these gifted students able to excel despite not receiving gifted education? For award-winning students, do we have any study as to whether these students continue to fare well in terms of their career after they graduate? Professor Lau, please speak into the microphone. Second, I have a question. I believe that usually teachers are the one who identify gifted students The Hong Kong AGE said that some schools have too many gifted students. That's why they allow their parents to nominate their children to the Hong Kong AGE instead. Teachers, as the people who are most likely to be in touch with gifted students, do they have the capability to identify if someone is gifted or more abled? If they don't have such a skills to identify gifted students, then we may miss out on some of them. I don't agree that all gifted students select just a few subjects. What is your second question, Professor Lau? My second question is how we identify high achievers and gifted students. This comes back to my first question. Well, my last question is very simple. Why 10-year-old? Why not 9? Why not 7 years old? Undersecretary, a very simple response, please. Thank you. There are 3 questions put as to how we identify gifted students. We don't just focus on the leadership, creativity, skills of students. As we mentioned, the Hong Kong AGE cover many different domains. We assess students according to their different skills. Gifted students may excel in academic and non-academic areas. Professor Lau just talked about the history of Hong Kong AGE. Before the establishment of the academy, the government already had measures to nurture gifted students. Prior to the establishment of the academy, there were organizations who had been working on training and identifying more abled students. We had quality education funds and other types of funds to promote the cultivation of gifted students. We have also relevant training courses offered by tertiary institutions back then. With the Hong Kong AGE established, the support mechanism can be more systematic. We have a 3-tier implementation model, with Level 1 being talent search, talent identification, Level 2 being development of talent, and Level 3 being off-school support. The member asked whether most gifted students are identified at classrooms. That's true, because, well, Level 1 and Level 2 are school-based. As to how we help teachers identify gifted students, we have been offering training to them, and we will step our efforts in this area. And we already have a school-based talent pool. Thank you.
朱國強議員。
唔好意思，仲有個
Sorry, what about the age of 10 to 18? Yes, we don't encourage pulling out the talents at a very young age. In some places, some students would be pulled out when they were in early primary or even kindergarten stages for intensive training. That's not good for the students' development. Now, there are different supports at different levels. However, the HKAGE focuses on students aged between 10 and 18. Next, Mr. Zhu Guokyung. Thank you. The scandal about the competition entry has stirred concern. Now, in this day and age, when it comes to I&T competition, it's not just about building robots. The technological level required in some competitions are way beyond the capacity of secondary school students. So should we allow secondary school students to engage help from third parties to compete in these competitions. So even if there is a declaration mechanism, the competitions may lean heavily in the favor of rich families and elite families. Undersecretary, I don't agree with Mr. Zhu Guokeng that secondary students are necessarily out of their depth in INT competitions nowadays. I've talked to some award winners. There was a student who invented a self-cleaning door bar. So the smart door bar would make use of the momentum when you open or close the door to clean itself. Some of the competition entries have even been commercialized. So we should not underestimate the creativity and the abilities of our students. Concerning the scandal relating to a recent competition, we emphasize that the HKAGE identified and trained gifted students to participate in competition based on a fair mechanism. Experts and professionals are invited to assess the competition entries fairly. These are experts and professionals enjoying high reputation in the trade. In the process, the judging panel would assess the work of the students from a professional point of view. Concerning the case mentioned by the member, we have directed the HKAGE to conduct an investigation. Results have been made available. Now we attach importance to the integrity of candidates in the competition. In the future, candidates will be asked to declare truthfully third parties involved in their work. So with this robust mechanism, we can uphold the reputation of the competitions while providing learning opportunities for gifted students in STEAM subjects while nurturing more talents for Hong Kong. Thank you. Next, Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you. Gifted education is something that we discuss all the time. Now, when I was a student, I always say that gifted students are also students with special educational needs. So sometimes we describe them as double SEN students. So some gifted students have different challenges, for example, spatial recognition or other attention deficits. But some of them have other strengths. Now, I had a student who was a 14-year-old student with an IQ of 140. They thought it was too boring to attend school. The Education Bureau was involved in the end, but we could do nothing because school was really too boring for them. Now, there was a student who was 11 years old who got admitted into the Columbia University after graduating at the age of 11. So we need to identify the different roles to be played by the institutions. The HKAGE should dedicate resources to train students, train teachers in classes Some teachers really have no idea how to help gifted students. Their hands are already full with helping students with special educational needs. So can we provide more support to teachers? And also support for parents. I know some students who completed the entire DSE curriculum at the age of 6 or 7, but these students had to attend school just like other students. The parents told me about the plight in tears. Now we stopped at IOI concerning AI education, but actually with some results in world-renowned AI competition, the awardees will be admitted into famous universities like MIT or Oxford. So we all know these students are gifted. We have to give them help so that they don't become a tragedy. Undersecretary, I fully agree with Ms. Lillian Kwok that we are educating students according to their needs. There are some gifted students who have special educational needs. So these are the double SEN students we call. So in the HKAGE, there are clinical educational psychologists to assess the students. Now for gifted students with double SEN, we seek expert opinions on designing their curriculum and activities to suit their needs. Concerning support for parents, we have programs for parents with gifted students that include personal social skills and social development. For teachers, we also offer professional training to equip teachers with skills to offer affectionate learning to gifted students. So in short, we do provide resources to schools, teachers, and parents to support the development needs of gifted students. Concerning skipping school grades and how we can better support gifted students. Now, skipping grades is one of the options, but we must understand clearly the overall development of these students in terms of learning skills, their mindset, and social development. So we will pay attention to the personal development of each gifted student. Now, recently, some universities have created accelerated courses for students gifted in mathematics. So besides academic skills, the universities also attach importance to the whole person development of students. So we embrace the same concept. The two last members, I seek your support that we are going to accommodate the last two members. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you. Following up on the minimum age of 10 for gifted students, I share the same concern. Should we lower the age limits? We can be more active in offering help to gifted students. We need to identify the gifted students and keep track of their development. We need to start from an early age. I'm not saying that we should offer intensive training to gifted students at the age of 4, but I'm just saying that we should offer support earlier on. That may entail more resources, but I think that is necessary. Also, besides gifted students in traditional subjects like languages and mathematics? What about music and visual arts? How is the mechanism identifying gifted students in these other subjects? Under Secretary, thank you. On the second question concerning non-core subjects like music and visual arts, how can we identify talents? I would defer the question to the Academy. On why we set the age at 10, it just means that the Academy offers services to students between the age of 10 and 18. Before the age of 10, through school-based training programs, students can identify their potential earlier on. Now, gifted is a label. After becoming a student member of the HKAGE, the students will be given an additional identity. If that status is given to the students at too early an age, it may amount to additional pressure to the students. More counseling services will be required, and we need to make other students understand what that means. So we don't think it is appropriate to confer that status to students too early in life. Now, schools as a whole provide whole person development to all students, including gifted students. It is not suitable to give too much pressure to students earlier on. Dr. Jimmy Wong, please be brief. Besides traditional subjects, the HKAG has widened our courses. For example, we have admitted a new cohort of student members who excel in visual arts subjects. They are not all traditional high achievers. There are even some student members who perform poorly in academic subjects. In July, we have organized a visual arts course for these gifted students at the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing. According to the teachers, these students perform on the same level as university students. Now, I'm the last member to speak. We have a significantly declining birth rate. In 2011, there were 4,129 student members in the HKG. There were 420,000 secondary school students then. So 1 in every 100 secondary school students would be admitted. Now we have 340,000 secondary school students now, and there are 9,400 student members in the academy. So 3 in every 100. So as the chairperson said, there are some students who do not perform well in certain subjects, but they are still regarded as gifted. So how can you ensure that the resources are focused on those who are truly gifted? Second, many community leaders and parents told me that many families have sent gifted students to study abroad at a very early age. So have we conducted a survey on whether our gifted students are studying locally? Have you conducted such a research or survey? 3, teachers. The total number of teachers is 44,000, but only 4,100 of them have received training on educating gifted students. Now, since we are making gifted education more universal, how can we train up our teachers to help them? Like Ms. Lilian Kwok said, teachers have their hand full already on send students.
Thank you for your 3 questions. I will ask my colleagues to talk about teacher training. The chairman is right. We've been trying to promote gifted education. Despite the drop in school-age population, we see more and more students signing up for a Hong Kong AGE. We see heightened awareness among the community on gifted education, and it seems that the efforts and the training offered by the academy is well recognized by local schools. So we see that the number of enrollments for academy has not been affected by the declining school-age population. It's been on the rise instead. So this shows the great efforts of the academy and teachers. As for the number of students who have left the local education system, well, some of them may come back to enroll in local universities. In the last agenda item, we talked about the different curricula we offer. We have a diversified education systems. We have many private schools. This allows us to retain students here so that they complete their secondary education here. In the past, some students left Hong Kong to complete their secondary education because some curricula is not offered here. With the increase in the number of school places for international curricula, many students now opt to stay instead. I will ask my colleagues to talk about teacher training. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Undersecretary. On teacher development, we have a number of professional development activities on school-based student talent pool and school-based gifted education learning activities. We have many different types of trainings for experienced and new teachers. On gifted education learning activities, school-based student talent pool, we have many different resources. We have online foundation courses for teachers and thematic workshops offered. Thank you. That's it for this agenda item. Item 6, any other business? There being no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.